3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 45.
The quarantine edition.
This week we're not going to be filming because we're sat so far apart from each other that with the social distancing that we didn't think the YouTube side would work. So we'll probably stick it on YouTube, but it'll just be still pictures.
And I knew them opera glasses would come in handy. I can just see you in the distance there, Chrissy.
We're just going to do audio this week, but. First of all, we've got our sponsor, the Burrows Motor Company, are back sponsoring this episode, so thanks very much. And
go buy a van, go buy a car, go buy anything from Burrows, please.
The Burrows Motor Company is a local, family-owned business with sites in Rotherham, Barnsley, Doncaster, Sheffield, Worksop and York, representing Toyota, Mazda and Kia brands. Burrows Motor Company is large enough to help with any motoring requirement you should have, whilst remaining small enough to retain the family-friendly feel, with each team member working constantly to ensure they offer the best possible service to each customer, whether they have been coming to us for 10 years or if it's their first visit. So whether you are looking for a new Toyota, Mazda or Kia, or wanting a nearly new or pre-loved used vehicle of a different make and model, Burrows Motor Company are large enough to help source the perfect car for you. Our dedicated team are well known to many of our customers and are just a phone call away. Of course, once you drive away, the service doesn't end there. With great options to help you maintain your vehicle in tip-top condition, our fully manufacturer-trained technicians, body shop technicians, parts and service advisors, and our booking team are on hand to help with any inquiry. Just call in or contact your nearest Burrows site, and they've got an exclusive offer for Chasing the Racing customers at the moment. Now, I wasn't 100% sure what it was last week, so I was kind of umming and ahhing, but I've had it confirmed, sent through. So if you buy a car from Burrows, any of the Burrows places, if you mention Chasing the Racing when you buy, you get it. The choice of either an experience pack or a family pack. The experience pack can be one night away for 2 people, a spa experience for 2 people, a track day experience for 2 people. And in the family pack, you've got 2 Amazon Fire tablets, 4 cinema tickets, or an £80 Pizza Express voucher. So there you go. If you buy a car, make sure you mention Chasing the Racing and you get a little extra treat. So, Dom, episode 45, we're going to be joined by a local lad, Billy Bolt. He's a world champion.
That is not a fake name, by the way. That's a genuine. His mother, his mum and dad gave him that name, Billy Bolt.
So we've got that's a pre-recorded conversation, and so that'll be coming shortly. But before that, we've got a few bits and bobs to get through. First of all, the last weekend, I'm still in me sling myself, so I didn't.
I was about to say, how are you getting on? Let's talk about that first. Let's say how's the recovery going, son? How's the recovery going?
Aye, good, mate. Good. Obviously, week on from when we did the last podcast, and just much of the same. Lots of rest, all the supplements.
You look
and
comfy,
stuff.
your mind. You don't look like you need a shit all the time. You were so tense up. I thought you were going to literally pop or like knack a seal.
Well, I'm totally off all my pain relief at the moment, so I'm just supplements.
Hard bastard. Yeah. Look at you. Look at you.
Just getting plenty of, I can't really do much exercise, but just going for walks really for fresh air, and just getting as much sleep as I can, and just not taking any risks. It's very easy. I've had a few operations now, and it's very easy to get sucked into trying to do too much too soon, and often you end up taking a backward step. So it's just
hold on. Right, the last thing, obviously, because everyone's got a little bit more time on their hands due to the coronavirus. By the way, I think instead of a swear jar, we should have a coronavirus jar, because obviously we're going to try and stay away from the absolute outright depression and the apocalypse that's going on. So anyway, let's go off subject. You are not taking it easy. I was flicking through the Instagram because I've got a bit of time in my hands, and who do I see banging out the push-ups? Our very own
good arm.
On your good arm.
Keeping me bad arm in me sling.
I can't believe it. 10 push-ups. Who do you think you are, Rocky Balboa? It was serious, that young, and that was hellish. I can barely push myself out of bed now.
That's what they call the nomination things that are going around. I think it's just people are so bored with not working and whatever that just people are trying to stay occupied. What about yourself? Are you still managing to work?
Well, at the moment, I've got really nothing to whinge at. The realistic side of it is work is getting cancelled on me left, right, and centre at the moment. The Forest Commission shutting down. The sawmills are getting shut down. Well, hold on, they're going to have to reopen soon, hopefully. That's my only saving grace. I really hope they start to pick up their feet. But any domestic work's been cancelled because obviously gathering, social distance and everything like that. Railway work's been cancelled. Powerline work's been cancelled. Anything. It's hitting me because, to be honest with you, Chrissy, I thought the last person it was going to affect is us lonely woodcutters, because we really are within a team, and you're not near each other anyway. Like, by the rule book, we're supposed to be 2 product length, and what I mean by that is like tree distance away from each other. You really aren't. Well, without making it sound saucy at all, but you're not really on top of each other at all. You're very, very distant, and me being freelance and self-employed. Like, I turn up with my own van, I just turn up and cut trees. But even, it's affecting little old me. So, but I think my sister, bless her, who does listen to the podcast, she's dead worried she might lose her job permanently. Obviously she's going to have to go into this 80% side of things. But there are some of our listeners who have lost jobs and everything like that. I tell you what, I love it how I just started this conversation 5 minutes ago going, right, we're going to keep everyone up on their feet. Everything's going to be grand. Yeah, And I'm like, right, Chrissy, lend us a rope, mate. I'm just going to hang myself off your yard step here.
I tell you what,
God, Bennett.
To chirp you back up, I was going to get on to at the weekend.
We're like schizophrenics here, aren't we? Up and down. I
didn't manage to, obviously with my injury, I didn't manage to get out myself on my motocross bike, but I got a phone call from a very happy, chirpy Dominic on Saturday morning, and you'd got a lend of a motocross bike. And was that the first time you've ridden a motocross?
No. I've the only way I can describe it is tarting about. So the last time I got a proper go on a bike was a 125. It was my mate Josh Watson. He lent us his little Honda, little 125, and I mean, I have the elegance of a piss gazelle when it comes to one of those, I'm telling you. But I got lend of a 450, right? And there's me, thinking, Billy Big Balls, looking at you, and I'm like, all right, come on, Chrissy, I'll show you how it's done and stuff like that. Honestly, it was like getting a little toy Barbie girl and then just strapping it to a remote control car and going as fast as you can. That's exactly how I could describe me riding. It was, and I tell you what, them 450s, my respect for motocrossers in general is gone through the roof. Is phenomenally gone through the roof. And I mean, I look like I've just spent a night with Frank Sinatra. I look like I couldn't walk straight the next night. I couldn't. I was absolutely knackered, Chrissy.
I was exactly, because mine's a 450 as well, and the first few times I went out on it, I was paying the price the next few days. Like, it's they're a proper bloke's bike, and it's mega training in terms of you
don't need a 450. Like, I can't ride. No, so it's like, when they say about stocks and super bikes and everything like that, and some people say, well, you don't need a big bike. That is very much the case in motocross. Like, I could barely leave third gear. You know what I mean? It was up and down the box, and it was just so much power. Like, when I had to go on the 125, it was, to be blunt, more enjoyable. And it was just that 450. Like, when you went in the ruts, you could drive out and you could sit it down and bog. But I tell you what, every time you just tapped the throttle, it just spun out everywhere. Just whap! It was just like, Jesus wept. It was it's a proper discipline, that. It really is. It really is. But what did you make of me riding anyway?
I was impressed, mate. I was impressed. Really good.
I felt like you were like my motocross dad.
It was about the first time I'd been out of the house for properly, aside from just going for little walks. So I enjoyed it. Obviously just watching a bit of bikes, and I think that's the last, even motocross, I think that's the last bit of bike racing or bike in action that I'll see for a while. So it was good to get out, and I could it was nice to see you with a smile on your face all day. And but I did actually think of this week I was thinking what we're going to do for the podcast, and with there being no racing and stuff on, and I came up with a little idea to cheer people up. And I'm a massive comedy fan, like sitcoms and stuff on Netflix and stuff like that. And I just thought,
why aren't you the funny one on the podcast?
What about going through your favourite TV moment of all time, or your favourite comedy moment in either a movie or whatever? Do you have one that stands out?
Blackadder goes fourth.
describe the scene, because I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, what's his name? Lord Flashheart. Type that in on YouTube, right? And obviously it's called the 20 Minuters. So they're like, it's a World War One base, and obviously trench warfare. Goes, oh, we'll join the 20 Minuters. So anyway, they're sitting around, there's Blackadder going, oh yeah, it'll be just a load of boring men talking about machinery. So anyway, enter Lord's Flashheart, and he just walks in, big moustache like your dad used to have, like a proper paedophilic moustache. It was serious. So anyway, he runs in, and he goes, right, treat your kite how you treat your woman. So anyway, the guy at the back goes, what, take her to tea and see your mother? No, getting her 5 times a day and take her to heaven and back. And he goes, it's just like loads of little one-liners throughout the whole thing. Just stuff like, it go, oh, what does he say? He's like, he goes, ask me why I don't wear underwear. And they all go like, why don't you wear underwear, Lord Flash? Because he goes, because they haven't built the pants to take the job on. I'm not doing the scene any justice whatsoever. It's absolutely brilliant. It really is. Lord Flashheart, Blackadder. It is brilliant bit of comedy.
People need cheering up in these times, don't they, and things to watch. The reason that I like thought about it, I think I was just like doing something like getting out of bed or something just like really random, and just, do you know when things just come into your mind and you just start laughing to yourself? And it was,
you need help. You've been locked up too long now.
Did you ever used to watch The Office?
Nah.
Oh yeah. Well,
is that the Ricky Gervais?
Ricky Gervais.
You see, that's a bit cringy for me. Like, I can't get away with cringy comedy. You know,
really?
See, everyone loves that in between the shite.
Do you not get?
Nah, honestly, I just want to punch him. Now, I'm irritable as a person. I'm all right for 5 minutes. I'm all right in small portions, but I generally get on people's tits, and I understand that. You know what I mean? So I'll quickly run away. But the thing is, right, when you're watching a program with a bunch of idiots making arses out themselves, to me I'm like, oh, just why would you do it? It boils me. I'm like, why are you doing that? And I think I'm so relatable to the program because I do stupid things all the time, and I get home at night and go, oh, why did I do that? I feel like such a pillock. I can't get away with that kind of comedy. But then when
everyone's different,
of course they are, and I think that's the best thing about it. But that's up your street though.
Oh, I absolutely love The Office, Extras. Like Borat, all of those.
Borat is
Who is America? Have you ever heard of that?
Nah, I'm gonna.
If Who is America, they're all on YouTube. I would definitely recommend that. They're absolutely hilarious. But anyway, this Office scene that just came into my head and it just really really tickled us. It's basically there's two like sort of officers. There's one in Slough and one in Swindon. And the management have basically decided to merge the branches, but they don't know like if they're going to stay local. Do you know what I mean? Like stay in Slough or stay in Swindon. So obviously all the staff are nervous and that. And anyway, the main boss comes in and takes David Brent, it's Ricky Gervais's character, takes him into the office for a chat. And so when he comes out, all the office like gathers round and they're all like obviously wanting to know like what's happening, the uncertainty. So he comes out and he says, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. He says the bad news is we are getting closed down, and so a lot of you are going to lose your jobs, and the people that have kept the jobs.
Was this based on the coronavirus situation?
No. So a lot of you are going to lose your jobs. The ones that have kept the jobs, you're going to have to relocate to Swindon. So like everyone's devastated.
No one wants to go to Wales.
That's like super bad news for everyone. Everyone's gutted. And then he goes, the good news is. And he's got like this really cheesy grin on his face. I've been promoted. He's just got this like big cheesy grin, and then he goes, "You're all thinking about the bad news." Like that. And then some guy chirps up and goes, "That's not good news. That's just bad news and irrelevant news." And I just thought about that and it just tickled us so much.
I love that. Most blokes wake up and trying to knock one out and you're thinking of David Brent.
What about Only Fools and Horses? Are you a big fan?
You've obviously damaged your right arm, haven't you? Because you're having to think about funny things rather than other things.
What, Only Fools'
God,
Noses? Are you a big
Oh,
fan?
that is good. Now that's proper comedy. You know what I mean? That's
ever-
that's very clever. That
See,
is twisted.
from being a young lad, I've been obsessed with Only Fools' Noses. I've seen every episode at least. I would say I've seen every episode at least 8 times.
You ever watch Open All Hours?
Yeah.
See, that
Faulty
kind of
Towers.
That, you know what I mean? That, you see, the problem is you can't replicate, you know, like the like
They
Faulty
don't make-
Towers. Like don't mention the war stuff. It's so like now you generally can't get away with most things, anything anymore without upsetting someone.
You started it. No, you started it. You invaded Poland.
That's exactly it. You cannot get away with that stuff anymore. Period. Could you?
No,
you cannot
no.
get away with anything. I'll tell you what. Right now. Like, this is probably one of my last days at work, like for a while anyway, you know, boo-hoo, get the violin out. But anyway, like on the radio, like I've got headphones when I'm working by myself. I've got headphones in, and obviously all the news, we're going down the depression route here again. Sorry, we're going down the corona route again. But like on the news today, they were talking about, you know, the NHS, and they've just done the, like, what night is it? Thursday night. They've lit 8 o'clock tonight. They had everyone in the country applauding the NHS, and obviously what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. I totally agree with that, right? And there's me. I'm travelling back to work forward. Now, the PM, Prime Minister, Boris, the dodgy haircut lad, he was very, 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 well, bland, really. He was a bit like, right, don't leave your house, but if you can't work from home, go to work. And you're thinking, well, are we staying? Are we going? Are we coming? Are we going? So anyway, I'm going to work in the forest. I can't do that from a laptop. And the amount, right, of old biddies, the old coffin dodgers themselves are walking up and down the high streets, mate, thinking, and the whole reason, right, that the young'uns, like the younger generation, you know, the ones who are just going to essentially have the flu symptoms, the low risk, you know, like we haven't got any underlying health issues. The reason we're staying in is not to give the coffin dodgers the illness to put them in the coffin. And you're just thinking, what the hell's going on? And you know what? And then you've got one side of the argument, then the other side, right? I heard this absolute, he sounded like he's from Wallsend, like that Billy Bull. He was like that, I've got to go see me friends because obviously, like, me mental health, I've got to go see me friends. No one can tell me to stay in. You're thinking, what the fuck is wrong with this country, man? Okay, right, there's 2 things I need to bring back, right? Public punishment and, well, quite frankly, slapping kids. That's what this country needs, because bellends like him want shot. You know what I mean? He's hiding behind issues that are so overwhelmingly disastrous to the human nature, and he's piggybacking it to try and get out of the Prime Minister's direct instructions not to go out. What?
I know.
What's wrong with the world, Chrissy?
I know. We're living in it's very strange times at the moment, innit? And it's, you know, I think
I'm waiting for the Mad Max thing.
What's
The
that?
MOTs have been put back 6 months. Everyone's going
6 months, aye.
to 6 months. It's going to be like Mad Max, no tread on tyres. People were smoking up, running red diesel. Ah, the good old days. Yes. A good old fashioned apocalypse. There you are, good old cult. Mother Nature has her ways. I'm telling you, just wind the clocks back, young'un. Wind the clocks back.
So
It'd be like that day at Slealy. They're all radges.
are we all good to get on at the interview, or have you got anything else?
Obviously, before we get going, you know, obviously, you know, in the interview we talked about Billy Bolt's career and everything like that, and he was starting from a young age at motocross, right? Now, who's your mate's sugar tits?
You've lost us, mate.
No, who's the young'un? You know, the lad who looked after us at the motocross
Craig.
track? Craig
Stat.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Right, but he picks up the phone like a deviant sex pest. He's like that. Hello, sugar tits, you all right? And I'm going, who the hell's this? Like, Dad? No. It's definitely not me dad. So anyway, sugar tits, right? He's a full-on motocross dad. He's a full-on motocross dad. But he's the best kind of motocross dad. He's very much
He's a good egg.
He's definitely a good egg, and he's an avid listener. He's going to punch me next time he sees this. But what an interesting character he really is, you know. And his dad was a sidecar passenger, you know, TT rider and everything like that, you know. And the diamonds in the rough in this sport is absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, I'm trying to get to the main point here. His son, right? And there's only one way of describe what he did to me on the track. He went through me like a cheap slapper. I am telling you, right? He literally smoked around the edge of us on an 85 big wheel thing, right?
65, mate.
Never.
He's only 9.
Oh my God. He's only 9.
9-year-old.
He probably doesn't even like boobs. So you're telling me a kid, right, who hasn't hit puberty, that's how bad I've been on a motocross bike. But honestly, he just did not.
It's not how bad you are. It's just how quick he is.
It's phenomenal.
He's a great little lad.
Big tabletop. It was just, how big was that tabletop?
Massive eye.
It was
clear and everything.
It was like, I'm not even exaggerating, 60 foot. It got to be. It would be, or even big. I'm trying to think of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
I'd that'll be over 60 foot, and there's him fully singing at it, just boom, boom, straight over on a windy day. It was phenomenal. But the commitment to him, and he was barely tired.
Mm-hmm.
He was absolutely flying around, and he's got like Brad Anderson was there, and he was an absolute demon. And the thing is, this young'un was actually not far off them, and the other lads were on like 350s and 450s. And obviously, you know, the big fast lads were just showing him the way and keeping an eye on. But I tell you what,
it's impressive, isn't it?
It is serious. It was absolutely serious. And well, hold on. And then he's British champion, isn't he? Like 50cc British champion and stuff. And he's got coaches and dietitians and everything. And like Craig there, Sugar Tits himself, you know, and the whole family are putting everything into him. Mm-hmm. But what a well-mannered young lad. You know what I mean? He's not walking around like you with a hair gel and everything like that. He's down to earth. He just listens. You can tell, you know, his peers and the older lads. He sits there and he's taking it all in, and that's a rare quality. And it reminded me a lot of, well, I can imagine you were like that when you got into racing.
It reminds me a lot going the motocross and, you know, seeing the family like Craig and Gemma and doing everything, and it sort of reminds me of the back then, like similar with my mum and dad, and it's great to see someone starting out on that journey, and like whatever path it may take, it's
you know
lots of great times, like family times together, and
you can get lots of people that can go a little bit left, can't they? You know what I mean? They get a bit of confidence and they can go there's a wrong way and a right way. You know, we can get confident over confidence, and it's a very narrow bridge, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And you've got to be careful how you cross it.
Definitely.
And he seems to have his head screw on. He's already won a championship, and you'd think that would inflate his ego. What is it? Hayden Scott?
Stat.
Mm-hmm. Hayden Stat. That where he got a write up in Dirt Bike magazine and everything like that. The lad, when he keeps
from Jack Bernacle.
Eh?
From Jack Bernacle, maybe.
Aye, that's it. Aye, so there we go.
Right.
But he's definitely got a future in this sport without a doubt. He's already a part of the future of it, without a doubt. So, but hey, it'll be definitely someone to keep an eye on. Very much like this Billy Bolt, but obviously classic Dominic here has no idea who the hell he is. So it was really good to learn about him.
That's it. So. I think it would end up being about an hour, didn't it?
Aye.
An hour interview.
Yeah,
so
Chrissy, we're going to have to stop giving them the actual timetable because the people will start turning off.
So we'll go from everything from how it all began to you being world champion, SuperEnduro, you know, we'll cover trials, all kinds of things. So here goes an hour with Mr. Billy Bolt. So we're joined by local superstar, 2018 World Enduro Super Series champion and the 2020 SuperEnduro World Champion, Billy Bolt. How are you doing, son?
Hello. Yes, not too bad, thank you. I've been stuck indoors for a few days now, so I'm climbing the walls a bit, but as good as I can be for the circumstances, I think.
You were not kidding, mine, were you? He's definitely a local lad. I thought you were the most successful person out of the Northeast, Chrissy. Who's this lad? Oh, giddy. I tell you what. Hey, Billy. Hello, I'm Dominic, by the way, if you don't know who the other knacker on the show is. But it's a case of... My favourite thing about these interviews is I generally have no idea what's going on. So Chrissy said to me, Billy Bolt. Now, that sounds like the most motorcycle made-up name I've ever heard in my life. Now, is that a stage name? Is that a stage name? Or so, like, is your name actually Billy Murphy or William Wallace? Or, you know, it's brilliant.
That's the name. It's been brought up quite a lot, that, to be fair, but it is... Well, William is my real name, but it was always intended to be Billy. It's it comes up quite often, to be fair, that it's, destined to be a motorbike rider with a name like that.
It definitely is, because the only time I ever got Billy was Billy No Mates. That's the only time I ever got called Billy in my life. You know what I mean? Madness.
So obviously we'll get on to various, about your career and stuff. But obviously, just recently, I seen on Instagram there that you've just very recently been crowned world champion. Obviously, it's to be a 2020 world champion at this short stage, with it only being like March. And I wasn't actually familiar with the series itself. So do you want to just explain what the championship is and basically how?
Yeah, so basically SuperEnduro is just it's like an indoor racing of enduro, really. It's like almost like an arena supercross kind of track with just sort of like logs, tires, concrete pipes, rock garden, so instead of being sort of like rhythm lanes, just sort of like jumbles of rocks or some kind of obstacle. So yeah, it happens obviously through the winter time. Could actually be quite lucky, really. Look how things are going. It might be one of the only championships to be finished this year. But yeah, so it starts in December each year and usually goes till about sort of March, April time. And yeah, obviously this year went pretty well for me. I won. The last round was cancelled. That was sort of just when this coronavirus was getting quite serious. So the 4 out of 5 rounds, I think there was enough for them to say, oh, that'll do for the championship. And I'd won 3 of them before, so it went pretty well. And yeah, really happy to take the win and take the championship.
Well, obviously, before we go into the depths of your career, I've just found 5 minutes there to go snooping through your Instagram feed, and sifting through all the details, I couldn't get away from one great big detail: the sheer fact that your lass is absolutely smoking hot. So my first question is, what's your secret? How do you do it? You know what I mean? How well done. Well done.
I'm not too sure. A good moustache definitely helps, I think.
What's the crack with the moustache? Is there a story behind that?
To be honest, there's actually not originally, and then I just sort of it got not like it is now, but a little bit long and out of control, and it just started. I just noticed it was sort of winding people up. They were like, "What you got that for?" And I just quite liked that. It sort of got on people's nerves, so I've just kept it ever since, and it's been on for about 2 years now.
I'm not going to lie, because obviously when the Skype interview popped up, it was a visual image of you, and I thought we were talking to Chrissy's dad at first. I was like, Jesus wept, who's this bloke? It was a very suspicious looking moustache anyway, a very suspicious looking one, but we're not going to go into that detail. So,
well, it's got that. It depends which way you look at it. I think on the angle, it could go down a little bit, but I think that's what keeps people on the toes. It's got a bit of an entry.
Part of the image. So with it being a world championship, 4 rounds. What countries? What are the 4 countries that you go to?
Poland was the first one in December, and then Germany round 2. Spain, Budapest, and then the last one was meant to be back in Poland at a different arena a few weeks ago, which obviously we didn't quite make it to. So yeah, pretty all over Europe wise.
God, is it okay? So obviously we're very much established that you're a northeast man. So whereabouts in the northeast are you from?
Wallsend, I am.
I thought people from Wallsend weren't allowed to leave Wallsend. So how did you end up in Germany, Poland, and in Europe in general?
I don't think there's too many get out, to be honest. But,
you have to be fast on a bike like you. There you are.
Well, yeah. I don't think anyone's going to come and chase after us if I do want to go. But obviously, sort of, I'd been in the biking world in one way or another ever since I was. Since I was first allowed to be in it, sort of when I was 6, I started competing in racing and stuff. So I just sort of followed the progression, and traveling was obviously to sort of like anything really, to progress you need to be traveling, and you need to be where the best competition or the best events or races or whatever. So it's obviously luckily my parents have been, and my whole family have been sort of fully supportive from the start, and me and my dad did countless hours in the van every weekend since I was sort of like, I'd say probably 10 when we really started to travel far, and then 12, 13 when we started to go abroad. So it's been pretty normal for me, but like you say, for a kid from Wallsend, it isn't quite the standard thing to do.
So are we talking motocross on that side of things? Because obviously now, just literally flicking through, it seems like a very much more trials background that you've come from. So has it always been motocross, and you went, how did you jump between them?
Yeah, I started, I did start off with motocross originally when I was 6, on a little 50 on a rev and go, but I only did 4 or 5 races, I think, back then. To be honest, I can't remember too much. I can remember I won a trophy at the last race I ever did, and I think that was for 4th, but that was about as far as the motocross career went back then. And then I changed to trials after say them first 4 or 5 races. My parents just didn't really like the motocross vibe too much. Not so much like the racing side, but just the paddock and the spit. It's not the most friendliest of environments at times, so had to go at trials, and I quite enjoyed it straight away. I didn't not enjoy motocross. I loved them both, to be honest, but I was happy doing trials. So I started trials motocross when I was 6 for a bit, then trials from when I was 7, and got reasonably good at that. Did that for quite a while until I was 18, I think. About 4 years ago, and changed over to Enduro. Really with in mind to try and sort of make a career of it, because there's not too many opportunities in trials really. It gets quite narrow at the top, and if you're not sort of like living in Spain or spending most of your time in Spain, you struggle to get a ride with one of the big teams, or a ride worth having. So it gets quite costly when you get to that level. So didn't see too much of a future or career in trials, so made the switch to Enduro, and did pretty good at that pretty much straight away, really, to be honest. And ended up I had a factory ride for Husqvarna after about 7 or 8 months of doing it.
Holy
so it was definitely the right decision.
Mm-hmm. And just today, actually, I've been going through your YouTube channel and just watching various like YouTube clips and stuff, and it's like, to me, it's just totally amazing, like the skill and the precision of these, like even just watching you do at that practice track in Spain, like going over all the rumble and like doing just using like little logs and stuff to like jump right in the air and like just make landings, and for you to be able to calculate all that like when you're riding, to me, just it's like amazing. Obviously, I was actually speaking to one of my friends today, and they were saying about the fact that to have a career in trials is really difficult, and they were saying the top like sort of 12 lads in the country are the only people that can really do the expert tracks or something, and there's like a big differential between the very top and for like an average person, they can't even ride the same course. But just on the topic of trials, obviously you've got like the big Scottish, is it the Scottish 6 day trial?
6 days, which is May time every year. That's probably the biggest event of the country, really. It's, again, it attracts like the country's top riders, because it's quite important to like the UK importers, because of how big an event it is. But it doesn't get the world, the top riders of the world anymore. It used to actually be around the World Championship back in the day. They used to after that, I suppose it was a bit like the TT in road racing, when everyone used to have to sort of do everything. And in the World Championship kind of things. But so you've got like the Scottish 60s and the Scot Trial, which is like a one day event in Yorkshire, where it's sort of like a race and a trial combined together. It's like 80 miles all off road, and obviously you've got to do it as fast as you can, and you've got 70 sections where you've got to sort of keep your feet up and obviously do the scores get added together, and then like a British Championship, and then sort of so on down. But like you say, yeah, it's a very, very big split really in trials. Not a split, but there's only sort of a handful, I would say, probably even less than 12 these days of like, you know, riders that are capable of sort of competing against each other and like as like a top level.
Right.
So when it's such like a niche or like a narrow point at the top, it then becomes difficult sort of to put on, you know, sections or sort of obstacles that are hard enough to challenge them. But then again, you know, you need to rely on the other 40 or 50, you know, entries of not hobby riders, but sort of paying riders that are, you know, the entry, and they're the ones that sort of supporting the championship.
Yeah.
So to keep them happy, you know, in like, you know, a trial which they're not gonna break their legs, and for them to still be able to go to work on Monday isn't going to challenge like the country's best riders. It's like a never-ending vicious circle of trials. Really, you could talk for hours about sort of, you know, the errors or what could be done or what some of it could be differently. But it's sort of lacks, definitely coming from this country. It lacks, you know, you lack that real like push towards when you go to like a World Championship or European Championship event. You know, it's like you definitely haven't been prepared properly from like the British Championship kind of things.
And when you made the step over to Enduro, was that into the British Enduro Championship? So did you go straight on the world scene?
No, Enduro's a little bit different because like there's a few different disciplines. Like there's the old like traditional classic Enduro time card kind of stuff where it's sort of special tests and sort of, you know, like the kind of open grass fields with tape tests that you see, and like the extreme Enduro, which is the kind of where I went in at originally, which obviously, you know, the races like, you know, Erzberg or Romania, so the super, super, super difficult ones where it's, you know, there's like a handful of finishers. So that was what I, you know, aimed at and was working towards. Originally, I still sort of my main area of racing, the extreme kind of stuff.
What made you go down that Pacific route? Obviously, I can understand the trials jump, and you thought I need to do something a little bit different. Obviously, with your motocross background from the age of 6, why did you think, I tell you what, riding at a brick wall as fast as I can is right up my street? At what point did you think that's a great idea? For that particular discipline, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's reasonably common. It's always, to be honest with you, like the extreme enduro. Even when I was sort of riding trials and at the top level of trials, you know, my last couple of years, extreme enduro was always something that I wanted to move into. Really, anyway, you know, it's quite a common thing. Usually towards like the tail end of the careers. Trials riders have moved over to extreme enduro, and it's like, you know, all of the past sort of winners, and most of them are still there, to be honest. But sort of like your Graham Jarvis, Taddy Bazuzak, Johnny Walker, David Knight, all them kind of all came from trials. So it's a pretty natural jump, really. You've got obviously the technical background, so you can make it over the obstacles. It's just then a case of trying to, you know, pick up the speed side of things, and you know, I know it's not the same, but if anyone did see me when I was, you know, riding trials, I could ride a trials bike quite fast, definitely faster than they were put together to go anyway. So it was sort of, I think it was just, to be honest, the stars had sort of just aligned, and it was my destined path.
Fantastic. But here's a question. Obviously, now, pardon me ignorance, like I say, I know no one in this sport. Now, the only reason I've heard the name David Knight is because of the Isle of Man. You know what I mean? He's one of the favourite sons of the sport. So was he... Well, now, he was world champion. What, is it 7 times?
No, four times world champion he was, I think.
Now,
Pretty sure.
which discipline was that then? Was that in the
That
same
was-
as yours?
No, that was the classic enduro, so the
Right.
tradition where they do literally everything pretty much. Not to the same, difficulties, but he's done pretty much everything. He moved over. He was sort of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when it wasn't they didn't quite have like the extreme enduro is still pretty new, to be honest. It's only sort of now in the last 3 years or so it's been put in towards that. The champion. It's got not so much took off. It's sort of maybe 6-7 years it's really took off, but sort of in the last 3 they've really sort of put effort into making sort of a championship and crowning sort of like an overall winner. It's always been big, as quite a big, back in all the races are live on Red Bull TV and it gets, really, really big following. It sort of took over from, like the classic enduro, like what David was world champion in it. That it sort of took over from that as the main sort of enduro, main kind of racing that everyone, wants to watch. But David did both. David was world champion in the classic stuff, and he did in the beginning. He was there like really when Extreme Enduro first started, and he was, won quite a lot of races at that too. He's pretty good at everything. Is Naya, to be fair.
So here's a quick question, like more of a dimensions question. How tall is David Knight? He must be 6 plus, like plus the VAT. He's a tall lad, isn't he?
To be honest, I think 6, just a bit over 6'2". I think he's probably about the same.
I was just about to say, because obviously watching them little videos and stuff, you made the thing look like a BMX bike, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way you're just putting your feet down, helping them over. So, if you've got a dwarfy little fella like me, does your height give you a huge advantage? Is there many lads at your same height? Or, what do you make of that?
There's a mix, and like with the extreme races especially, there's that many different sort of parts to it. Yeah, obviously the long legs and just having brute force helps, when you need to just sort of manhandle your bike through a section, or it's, almost too difficult to ride and you've just got to, drag your bike through. But then again, like there's times if it's like really rutty or that if you sat down a lot, then your legs almost can be too long at times and so they're getting in the way. And then it's difficult to keep them up. And also like, some of our races, we're doing like Romania, the one we're doing in Romania, for example, that's like 4 days of 8 hours plus of riding. So the heavier you are, the more your bike's got to work, the more you've got to work, so like that. So I think it in the end, it probably is a slight advantage, but it's more than what would just sort of meet the eye, especially, going off what Instagram videos look like or stuff like that. I think there's that much to it. It kind of evens itself out throughout a day or throughout a season, let's say.
And for example, one of these like super enduro, the outdoor ones, what's the sort of schedule? Like obviously you've just said a 4-day, but is it a case of like, do you get there? Do you do like heats? Is there any like sort of like excuse my ignorance, I literally know nothing about it. So like either. Talk us through like from arriving at the track, how does the time at the track, how do you spend it?
Again, it's pretty different. That's what's pretty sort of unique and special about our racing and championships. Like every race is different pretty much. Especially sort of in like the go from like the WES, for example. Every race there sort of is like a different format. For the first one we do every year, it's called Lagares in Portugal. That's an extreme enduro, like a proper old school classic extreme enduro, where we'd get there probably the race at that one. Usually the races are sort of 2 or 3 days, and you usually have like a qualifying or some kind of quite often like a super enduro. So like the racing that we do in the arenas, they'd quite often have like an outdoor one of them on the first day just for like spectators to watch. Get some sort of qualifying or start position. So that be like 1 or 2 days of that. The one actually in Portugal has the first day is like a super enduro race at night time, and then the next day we do a race through the town, literally through the streets, up the stairways in Porto in Portugal, through the old town. If it's worth a search on YouTube for that race, because it is absolutely mad, the track that we ride on.
Sounds mental.
Yeah, it's called Lagares. You'll find it. It's the Lagares Prologue or the Lagares city race. You'll find it straight away. It's mad how they can even put a race on up and down these stairs. And then the extreme race the last day. And then that race itself, sort of the final. It's usually it rarely does the first 2 days. It's not points don't carry on or everything. It's usually in an extreme race. From start to finish, whoever wins sort of wins. And that race is usually 3 laps of about 60 kilometer, I think 50-60 kilometer loop. Of that one's just all riverbeds and waterfalls. That's all that track consists of, pretty much. And then they will go to somewhere else, for example, like Erzberg, which is probably the biggest of the year. Then if you've heard of that, you'll probably see in a video at some point. That's like was the original extreme enduro, really, and obviously it's in Austria, so it's like massively backed by Red Bull and KTM, and sort of pushed that race to sort of start the sport, really. And that again, that's like 2 qualifying days where you just sort of race up the mine road. So like there's like a dirt road that starts at the bottom of the mine. It's in a big quarry and goes all the way to the top on the dirt road. And then the best 50 times go on the front row for the main race. But like that race has like 2,000 people enter.
Bloody hell.
You have to qualify, so then the top 500 go through to the main race on the Sunday, which is 500 start at the bottom of the quarry, and there's like that's a pretty short lap. That's like 130 kilometer loop to the finish line, and then we'll go to another one like Romania, for example, which is, like I say, a qualifying day in the city, which is a prologue, which is usually some absolute mad contraption that some crazy Romanians built in the middle of the city, just like wood and dangling chains and tires on strings and like balance beams and just the maddest shit you could ever think of for the first day. And then from then, that's 4 days. That race is 4 days just in the mountains, 150 kilometer plus, sort of like minimum, I would say, of seven hours riding a day.
Bloody hell. And
so
I've seen
massively, to be honest, but that's what I enjoy about it, really. Every race is completely different, and your sort of training and your preparation for each race can be completely different. So that's it. For some people it's weird, but I think it's good. It keeps it. I think that's why a lot of people follow it as well, because there's always something different going on, or there's always action or drama, because the courses are that difficult, and sort of there's sort of 10-15 of that are sort of pros and racing the rest of the guys who there's usually a few hundred, if not thousands of them there. They're just there just to crash and literally smash the bike. So it's definitely you definitely get your money's worth.
And from watching a few of the onboards from the YouTube and stuff, it's like there's, like you say, there's so many obstacles and like whatever that it almost looks like you have to plan like quite far ahead to basically get through the obstacles. Do you get some practice on the tracks beforehand, or is when you're hitting them obstacles, is that the first time that you've come across, or do you walk the track or anything like that?
We usually walk it. So like we usually arrive at the track or at the race sort of a good, depending on if on the race, so you sort of work out what tracks you can walk, and some of them are in the similar places each year, but you usually arrive sort of 2 or 3 days early and walk the ones, sort of the 1 day ones. The 4 day one, Romania, that's so long, there's no chance you're going to walk any of that. But like the main sort of relatively short extreme ones, you walk the hard sections, usually not the whole lap, because that's quite long, and you're knackered by the time you come to race at the weekend. But you usually try and walk at least the hard sections. But again, that's why having a good trials background is so useful, because it's being able to pick lines and sort of see the easiest way through or over obstacles. If it's just coming naturally to you, you're saving so much time. You're not sort of stopping and looking and stuff like that. So it's definitely helps to have that trials background.
Me and Dom have just watched the I think it was 2018 Western Beach race on board, and we're both just sat like laughing at, like, obviously you don't get the best of starts, but then you're literally picking like the top lads.
No. What he does,
standing still.
He takes the piss. He's literally taking the piss. It's just like you almost look like you're smoking a rollie and reading the paper while you're riding past them, and there's 6 of these lads blowing out their bagpipe going, "I'm the man," and then Billy Bolt, the lad with the stage name, comes literally, there's one lad standing there trying to pick his bike up. I swear you used him as a ramp. You're just like, out the way, young, and boom, straight over. It was phenomenal.
Weston's a good race, though, to be honest. Weston, it's not like an extreme race. For me, it's pretty outside the box, really. It's more of like it's like a much faster kind of race. It's almost like a really long motocross track, to be honest. But it's great. It's such a good event. It's I would say, the only kind of definitely off-road race in the country that sort of compares to like an event that has the same kind of atmosphere as our races abroad. It's just such a big event. There's that many people there and stuff like that. And it's, if you ever get a chance to go and watch or go and even take part, it's well worth it, because it's absolute mental. The whole weekend is, I can't rate that race enough. And it's good. Sort of all the motocross boys are there, and they're like, "Oh, who's this trials rider or whatever?" And it's like 3 hours long. So for them, it's quite long. So it turns into a bit of a slop, and there's quite a few sections get really boggy or really muddy. And obviously, sort of, I grew up riding trials on the moors and stuff like that. So when it gets muddy and boggy, that's just like my absolute favourite. Just slugging it out in the mud. So it's it was nice to go and shut them up.
So, interesting question now. Obviously, every racer, you dream of getting to the top. That we all want to be professional. Now, immediately when you went in the endurance scene, was it 6 months? You said 6 months that you went straight to a factory offer.
Yeah, I got
that right.
Yeah. I did a year sort of by myself, but there was sort of the fact were interested with. After about sort of 6 months, it started to.
So you immediately jumped into that. And then it was a case of how much, what is it like to be a factory rider in endurance? Now, obviously, the Western Beach race, have you got freedom to do that? Are you on strict diets? What is your parameters, or are they very flexible with you? It's like, as long as you wear a cap and a jersey, son, just go race the bike. It's because with Chrissy, he's got to wear hair gel, he's got to look like a bellend, and he's got to go fast, and he can't ride anything else but Kawasaki's and suck the right people off. That's Chrissy's world. So what's it like in the endurance side of things?
Yeah, it's a lot of similarities, to be honest. I think sort of obviously it is sort of right. Husker, especially in enduro, KTM / Husqvarna is definitely the biggest manufacturer and the place you want to be at anyway. So you do have to sort of meet a certain amount of corporate requirements to sort of keep them happy, and obviously they got to be riding a Husqvarna and stuff like that. But they are pretty good, and they're quite flexible.
Can you get me a message to them, by the way? Not their motorbikes, but their chainsaws are shite now.
It's not the same people.
Hey, you're all under the same banner in my book, son. You just find the head chainsaw man and go punch him for us. You're from Wallsend. You're obviously handy.
Since I signed, he's never shut up saying he wants a lawnmower, and I have to tell him every time. It's not the same people. But there's a certain amount, but they are pretty good, especially for me, because most of the other riders, they sort of do extreme races, and they stick to the extreme races all year round, or they do extreme races in maybe SuperEnduro in the winter, whereas I'm a bit sort of like to be busy, and I don't really like to waste a free weekend or whatever. So if there's for instance, like Western Beach race on, usually there's no need for me to do that, just because I like doing it. I like going racing. I like trying something new. I went and did the 2-stroke festival motocross race last year, and I just like to sort of try as much as possible and keep, and see what I can do. So they are pretty flexible with, and sort of allow us to a certain extent sort of do what I want in support us as much as they can. Like they usually try. For Western, they made sure I had a proper bike, because the beach race bikes are quite a bit different to sort of your standard enduro motocross bike and stuff like that. So they're very good from that side of things. To be honest, I can't fault them. They could definitely, if they wanted to be a bit more strict, they would be within reason. But hopefully they continue letting us sort of float about here, there, and everywhere. If I can keep them happy and keep winning at the races I'm supposed to win anyway.
Oh, that's the main thing. But you quickly touched on something there. So, are you a 2-stroke man or a 4-stroke man? Because obviously my mates who do a little bit of green laning, they're all like, even at a lower level, get a 4-stroke, get a 4-stroke. But when you watch your videos, you're absolutely screaming Castrol R through the thing. So, have you got a personal preference?
I don't. To be honest, I just like riding I like riding motorbikes. It depends on the race if you want to get really technical. But I get this question sent probably
time
to about at least 5 times a week.
Bloody hell. So answer it then.
I just reply to them. I said, that debate's a myth. I said, you can do the same things on both bikes if you try hard enough. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's, again, every race, it's got its pluses and its negatives, obviously. We tend, for the faster kind of races, the motocrossy or the other like the beach races and stuff like that, go with a 4-stroke. And SuperEnduro is definitely, I prefer 4-stroke. SuperEnduro is the only really time where I'd say there's a definitive 2-stroke, 4-stroke case. The rest of the time, for extreme races, the majority of all of them would go for 2-stroke, but really that's sort of down to the weight thing, and we're pushing them and shoving them quite a bit, and you do need that sort of instant power in quite a lot of the places, and also sort of rely from, not that 4-strokes aren't reliable, but if there's sort of problems or you drop it in a river and flood it or whatever, they're easier to sort of get going and stuff like that. So if you're out in the wilderness and going playing on mountains all day long, it's a 2-stroke would be preferred, but a 4-stroke would do. Or if you're going 100 mile an hour down Western beachfront, then the 4-stroke's probably better. But again, a 2-stroke will survive. Pit bikes are the best. I like playing out like clap TTR on a field. That's where it's at. That's
so on that sort of topic,
I'll probably TTR actually. I'll just leave it at pit bike.
On that sort of topic, what do you do on your weekends off? Like, do you do a bit of motocross, or do you still do any trials, or like what do you do for training?
I very rarely do trials now, to be honest. I do still enjoy. I don't really enjoy competing too much at trials, but I do still enjoy going riding and practicing, with a couple of my old mates and stuff on it. So I rarely ride trials. I actually did the Manx 2-day this last year. It was the first trial I've done in a long while, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But I think that was more down to sort of the outer trial activities on the Isle of Man rather than the trial itself. But I ride motocross most weekends, to be honest, because obviously up here in Wallsend there's not really too many places to go train for extreme enduro or ride, or really people to ride with. So most of the week, if it's sort of like a typical kind of training week, I'd spend most of the week sort of floating about here, there, and everywhere at various friends' houses or whatever around the country to train for enduro side of things. And then I usually come home on a weekend and ride a motocross track near here with just some of my mates from back home or whatever. That's like a pretty standard week.
Here's a question, right? Obviously, you talked about, you touched briefly on it, with the trials world, you have to be in Spain, you have to be in certain places. It's the same with short circuit riding. You either want to be in Italy or Spain, the hot countries. Now, are you still in Wallsend? Do you still live in Wallsend as a professional rider?
Yeah, I still.
Or if you could pick somewhere to move to train, if you thought, right, if I move there, this will make me better, where would you move to?
I have this never-ending question going on in my head because I still live at home at the minute, and I'm trying to work out where is the best place to live, and you just can't answer it because wherever you go, you end up miles away from somewhere else. And like for Super Enduro, the indoor stuff, I think you do need to be in Spain, really, because obviously the indoor tracks are dry. They're in a stadium, in sort of, it happens in the winter months, and it's very rare that you're going to get unless you've got an indoor track in England, that you're not going to really get similar conditions. And there's not too many sort of real proper Super Enduro tracks in England anyway. So I spend most of the time sort of from November to February in Spain.
Worst places to be, young. Worst places to be. There we are.
The Super Enduro side of things, but for the rest of the year, I do like being in England. Like again, Spain has good places to ride enduro, extreme enduro, but I don't like it for the motocross, and it's just not the same. You go to a track here and have the crack with your mates, and you go whatever you're going for. The whole setup's different in it. You go for a coffee afterwards, and you just chat shit all day. Whereas it's a bit more by yourself on your own when you're there. And although it is probably slightly better for riding, I think you've still got to be happy at the end of the day. So
there we are.
It is, in for the extreme races. I think one of the reasons why British riders are so successful in that side of things is because we are used to riding in the shit, in the hailstones, and the wet and the mud, and we're just sort of used to it. So when we get a slippy race, or we have to start pushing and shoving, it's what we're used to anyway. So I don't think it does you much harm, snotting it out every now and again.
Yeah, I see on your Instagram that you do some training with Tommy Searle, who's obviously one of the best motocross riders in the world. Have you ever competed at motocross? And it, like, in comparison to like a world class motocross rider, is there much in it, or like when you're training and stuff?
Yeah, there's still. If all goes well and I've really sort of hanging it out there, I can sort of not be, we're not too far off on sort of like a time. I've never competed at that higher level at motocross. Mm-hmm. Not like even really like a British Championship side of things. Like I said, I did that 2-stroke festival. I've really, to be honest, sort of not including them first 4 or 5 races when I was 6, I've probably only done 3 or 4 motocross races in my life, to be honest, actual races. Just because that, I don't really have, I sort of struggle to have enough time to do that. Although I would like to do more. It was always something I would like to do more of, but sort of to go and do a race, like a serious race, then you sort of need to start getting stuff ready in the week, and then you've sort of lost your free weekend then, whereas, if I come home and ride motocross with my mates up here, it's still sort of like a weekend off in my eyes. It feels like one anyway. So, but it's not a million miles away. I think, I could be relatively competitive at a British Championship, sort of in like the MX1, the 450 class. I mean, not like challenging for podiums or anything, but I think I could, on a good day, scrape out a top 10. I think I could ruffle some feathers anyway, put it that way.
Good lad. Yeah. Good lad.
I'd just try my hardest to get out and get out in front on the first corner and just park the bus anyway. I'm a big lad. Also, looking through your Instagram, I seen that you've got a few surgery pictures back from 2018.
Was it a leg or a foot injury? Do you want to tell us a bit? I'm actually in a sling myself now, so I'm in a similar position to what you were in. But do you want to talk about your injury and like how you've overcome it? Yeah, I had went from pretty to, it was pretty. It all happened rather fast, really, to be honest. I went from winning the 2018 Outdoor Championship, sort of like pretty much my whole life's work, really. Went to Spain, started training for the SuperEnduro Championship for that year. All things went well, going good, and then the week before, the Monday actually before the first round of the SuperEnduro Championship, so like last year's championship,
went to a track in England, just not really doing anything drastic. Obviously, like the week before the first round, was happy with everything. So it's just maintaining things really, and had a not even that big a crash really in comparison to the crashes I'd got away with that year. I think that's always the case. The stuff I'd jumped off from and got away with, you wouldn't believe. But then I got at the wrong time, and the bike sort of bounced back up unexpectedly, and then sort of landed back on top of us after it like bounced off the floor back up and landed on top of us, and meant I had to sort of stick my leg out, take another step, but it was straight into like the takeoff of another jump, so it was stepping onto it, quite a steep uphill, and then my knee sort of just folded up under with the weight of the bike on my back, just sort of folded up underneath us. And I ended up having an avulsion fracture in my
all 3 foot of his leg there, Chrissy. All 3 foot of his leg just bent in half. Can you imagine it?
So an avulsion fracture of my left fibula head, and which is basically where like your LCL, so the ligament on the outside of your knee, where that attaches to the bottom half of your leg. So where that attaches, it had pulled off, and it sort of split my fibula where it had pulled off, and a few other ligament tears, and basically my whole knee was just not looking good at all. And then at the same time, it stretched the peroneal nerve, which is sort of the nerve that controls your foot. Where it goes, it basically goes round your fibula head, exactly where mine had broke. So it stretched that and meant that I had drop foot, which turned out to be the main problem really. The bone, I had sort of the bone pinned back in place and the ligament reattached to the bone, and all that took a while, but that was better after about 6 months. Just under about 5 months of the usual protocols for bone repair. So I started riding again. That crashed December. I started riding again May, just before the first round of the Outdoor Championship of last year, so 2 weeks before. So I missed all last year's Indoor Championship, but actually started riding again just before the Outdoor Championship, which when I first crashed, there wasn't looking like that at all. It was looking like it was going to be like a whole year job. But I decided not to wait for my foot movement to come back before I started to ride again. My knee healed and my knee was strong enough to ride. It was just literally going to be for my foot to start working again, and so I started to ride, and it started to come. I had another operation in September of last year, just to clean some scar tissue. The nerve was being trapped a little bit by some scar tissue from the old surgeries. Because in the end, I think I had 3 surgeries on sort of in my leg to get it sort of back in one piece. So there was quite a bit of build up of scar tissue. So I had that all cleaned out in September of last year, sort of to get ready and prepare for this Indoor Championship, which has just gone. And then November, I think, November of like last November, I started to get some little flickers of movement in my foot again. For the first time, and it's sort of still, I'd say, a fair way off being sort of what normal in like 100%, but it's each week or so it is getting better, and it's gradually sort of getting back to where it should be.
That's mega. That, and considering what you went on to achieve, like in such a short time, like December, 2 months after 3 months after the operation, is pretty unreal. Before we wrap up, do you like follow the road racing at all? Do you follow any like BSB or the Isle of Man TT or anything?
Do you follow a real sport instead of this enduro shite?
I do. To be honest, I'm not overly active in anything, but I do, follow just about everything. To be honest, I always have done since I was a kid. Really, like my dad is, motorbike mad. Watched everything, and I've been, to watch the TT and to, Silverstone and Donington to watch MotoGP and whatever when I was a kid. So it's like part of my growing up really. But I still follow them all. If they're on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, I'll stick them on. And like I say, I've met quite a few boys from various ones, so I like to keep an eye on what's going on.
You ever fancied a life on tarmac then? Have you ever thought about, hey, I fancy giving that a go?
I would like a go, to be honest. I think I'm a bit big to be overly fast, but I would like to have a go.
Oh, come on. Hold on. Connor Cummins, Peter Hickman. Yeah, you've got no excuse there.
But I've got a bit
You'll be fast as hell.
To be fair, yeah, on one of the new proper nutters on the actual road, I think I could. I'm not too far off being one of them physique, but I'm definitely out of short circuit standards. But no, I would like to have a go. Just I've never really. It doesn't really appeal to me at all, to be honest, riding on a normal road as a hobby. So I don't really know how it feels, but I would like to have a go. I think it'll happen at some point, a little go on a track just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And job swap, Chrissy.
And obviously the rest of this year, there's a big question mark over like all the events and stuff, but do you have anything penciled in for like what's planned for the rest of the year? Any races?
At the minute, no, to be honest, it's just races getting scribbled out of the calendar at the minute rather than penciling them in. The first two outdoor rounds, well, the first one's been postponed until in October, and the second one's been cancelled. So at the minute, no one really knows anything. It's a very, very weird time. I think you'll both probably agree. No one really. No one can quite get their head around it either. Well, I definitely can't get my head around it. But we'll see. I think we were relatively lucky in England that I was still riding pretty much like normal until this weekend. And I've stopped from then. I thought I'd do my bit to try and keep the NHS freed up for the people that need it and stuff like that for now. But yeah, who knows really. But as soon as we can go racing, I'll definitely be racing one way, shape or form.
Smashing. And for our listeners who are like on social media and stuff, do you want to share your social media tags so people can follow you?
Yeah, so Instagram is BillyBolt57 and Facebook Billy Bolt Racing. And then YouTube, just Billy Bolt. But I'm sure if you put Billy Bolt in any of them, you'll find us one way or another.
It's a unique name, isn't it? And I tell you what, I almost feel like I found a new like sport to watch, because the SuperEnduro in the stadiums I didn't even know existed until today, and I've been watching them on YouTube and they're absolutely brilliant.
Can you get us free tickets?
What's the crack for watching them live? Like, so if I wanted to follow it in the future, is it on Eurosport?
Most of them now they've got their own like live TV streaming with commentary and everything like that. I think it's Enduro-TV or something like that. If you go on the SuperEnduro website, you'll find it. That's probably a better way. But yeah, like I say, I can't recommend them enough. There's a lot of all around this year. To be fair, there was quite a few British guys there. Because it is so good to watch. It's like 3. Pretty short, but super intense races a night, and like it's such a even that class, our class, really. There's a pretty diverse range of standards. Really, there's sort of like 4 that are really sort of going for it and smashing into each other as hard as we can. And then another people scattered on the track to try and avoid, and bikes to ride over and stuff like that. And it is really good. And if, like I say, I couldn't recommend them enough to actually go out and watch one, because there's like junior classes going on. There's always support or like national classes at each round where it's just bullet men left, right, and centre. The bikes flying into the crowd and all sorts. So yeah, SuperEnduro. I'm sure, like I say, if anyone puts in, like I say, it's done for now. Hopefully, this will be illness or disease will be cleared up before it's time to go. And at the end of the year. But I'd definitely recommend it if someone's bored over the next few days to check it out. And I've done pretty well this year, so if you watch any of the recent races, you should have something good to look at.
Well, I've actually just remembered we've got two quick questions from our patrons. The first one was from Sniff and Skid Marks, and he said, if you could win one of the following events, which would it be? Dakar, Esberg, or Romaniacs?
Oh, that's a
Dakar.
very hard.
It's gotta be Dakar.
To be honest, Dakar is appealing to me a little bit more in the last couple of years. It never appealed to us at all, and then I've started to get into it a bit more. I like it a bit more now. It's gone to sort of the liaisons and the special stages rather than just 7 hours at 100 or 160 mile an hour, whatever daft speed they go dodging camels. I'm gonna say Romania, because that is Erzberg. I feel I have a realistic chance of winning, and this year, last year I didn't do too good, but the year before I was very, very close to winning. I ended up 4th, but I was very close to winning. So Erzberg, I feel I have a realistic chance of winning by myself. Romania, I just find such a tough race. It's so long, and it just beats you up. It is torture. So that is the one I find the most difficult, and I think I would get the most satisfaction out of winning. But that's a good question. It's very hard.
And then this next one is from Andy Wellborn, and he said, though the top riders go off in bunch start, I'm guessing through fitness, bike setup, and general good or bad luck when hitting obstacles, inevitably people of very similar standard of riding must pass each other time and time again on the longer events. It looks pretty brutal on the helmet cams when you pass. Is there any etiquette, any we look after the team first type rules, and do you ever come to blows?
No, we very rarely come to blows, to be honest. I think of all of the motorsports in riders and in people I know, I say we are probably the friendliest bunch, which again is another unique thing. We all, even sort of down to walking the track in the week before, we're sort of sharing hire cars and stuff like that, and we're always having a few beers with each other afterwards. So from that side of things, it's pretty good. From the team wise, very rarely, you would say more in like a multi-day event or like a Romania kind of thing. Obviously, if you're in sort of 5th or 6th in general classification, an hour away from the podium positions, and your teammate's leading or whatever, and you come across him with a broken bike or whatever, you try and help him fix his bike or whatever, from that side of things. But it's nothing too bad. But like our races are sort of usually all down to sort of one day, or you rare. And to be honest, going back to the first part of the question, you'd be surprised. A lot of races, you don't see people that much at all. Like,
right,
you'll be riding from one checkpoint, or you'll be riding all afternoon in Romania, for example, 4 hours worth of riding, not see a single soul on the track, and then you look at the checkpoint times, and you're like, oh, fuck me, I was 45 seconds behind someone at this checkpoint, or I was, a minute behind someone there. Like you'll spend the whole day, within half 45 seconds, a minute, whatever, like a very, very small period of time from someone, but you'll not see them at all the whole day. It's weird. It is so weird. And there's, again, we're pretty good. If there's a section where everyone's stuck, you'll see quite a few of our races will sort of help each other, even other riders, because a lot of the times we're put in such sketchy situations, sort of on sort of cliff edges and mountain ridges and stuff like that, where you can't really start banging bars there. It tends to be like the prologues and like the qualifying races, stuff like that, because there's always like a bit of prize money or something like that on the line there. Where if you're going to throw any block passes or you're going to, put anyone into next week, it would be done there rather than in the kind of the extreme environments, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's spot on. Well, I think that wraps everything up from our side, and just say massive thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Have you got any merchandise for sale?
I don't. I'm very slack on that, to be honest. I get a lot of messages, and I've been meaning to do that for a long time. But just reminders, actually, that would be some useful a useful thing to do in the next few weeks of lockdown.
Good lad.
When you get
Finger out
when you get them sorted, we'll do a chasing the racing cap swap for a Billy Bolt cap. How's that?
That sounds good.
Right. Well, thanks very much, and we'll catch up soon.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Billy. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
So that was Billy Bolt, mega ladder.
Mega lad, bloody hell! I tell you what, for a lad from Wall's End, he's done all right, mind. I'm telling you.
I tell you what,
it's actually. By the way, I'm not slagging Wall's End off, but I am.
when I've been on YouTube and that doing a bit of research, I would highly recommend anybody type in the onboard stuff, like the Western Beach Race is a mega watch. All the
footage, footage of them?
That's SuperEnduro, but the indoor one I never even heard of it, but basically it's like stadiums, packed out stadiums. They build these, it's like a supercross track, but it's more like with obstacles and stuff, and they're like, the lads get proper tucked into each other, like smashing into each other. It's mega race and like really good to watch, and hopefully a few people that are listening might be
without a doubt. If
you're off work or whatever, I would definitely, you could spend a good few hours flicking through some YouTube channels and watching some cool stuff. So
and he's definitely worth a follow on the Instagram there. The stories are good. Now the good thing is, like, obviously proper Northeast lad, Wall's End lad, great sense of humour. Obviously we were talking about the comedy side of it earlier on in the podcast, and he's very, very down to earth. And I tell you what, you know, for a lad who's only been professional for, be over a year now, like fully pro. We've just listened to the bloody interview and I can't even remember. But he's very, very switched on. You know what I mean? He can. He's very forward thinking, and he's another one for the future young'un. Yeah, it's me that's trying to figure out this interview crack. I just can't do it.
Do you know, I've just thought a quick one, another comedy one. Have you ever seen Liam Neeson when he's on Life's Too Short? Did you ever used to watch that?
Liam Neeson?
Do you know Liam Neeson, the
Hold
actor?
on, Taken, you know.
Yeah, from Taken and that.
A particular set of skills.
If you go on YouTube and type in "Life's Too Short" with Liam Neeson, it's about a 5-minute clip. Honestly, it is absolutely hilarious. Like really, really funny. So I'll just leave it. If anyone wants a laugh, stick that into YouTube, and it's a mega laugh.
Oh no, one more. Have you seen the Suit You? I don't know, what is it? The Fast Show. You ever watched the Fast Show?
You've shown us this on YouTube.
You didn't find it funny, did you?
No, it was good.
Oh,
Suit You Sir.
Oh, Suit You Sir. They had Johnny Depp in, man. It was so funny. It's like, oh, American, are you? Banged anyone yet, sir? You know Americans like a good rod ring. Oh, yeah, Suit You Sir. Oh, sir, Suit You Sir.
What would you stick into YouTube to get that?
The Fast Show, Suit You. But honestly, like, no. There's the Fast Show. I was like drunk. Honestly, it's this old bloke, right, sitting there with a whiskey, and he's speaking like a really posh, but it's totally like blurred, and he just pick out words. Something it's like, he ran over the top, and a great big ostrich appeared in front of me, and there he is, and I tell you, and there he is. You know, he hasn't shot the bastard out the sky, but at the time I was very, very drunk. Honestly, I'm ruining any good comedy here. Please type it in on YouTube. If you need a giggle, well, we all need a giggle, because if you don't laugh, you cry, and that's the world we're in.
That's it.
But I tell you what, we totally ignored any suggestions from our previous ones, didn't we? On the old Twitter there. Any suggestions for the show or anything like that? Did we actually get any?
We've got plenty of. We did get some really good suggestions.
Brilliant.
And obviously, we've got plenty of weeks to fill in from now until the race seasons.
I know. Honestly,
away. So we will go through them and pick stuff off.
It is upsetting, mind, isn't it? Because we've done all winter trying to fill this gap in.
Yeah.
This is when theoretically it became a piece of piss.
Mm-hmm.
And also, while I'm on the podcast, we'll have to put a tweet out about this. Congratulations to is it Alex Lowe's in World Superbikes?
Aye.
Yeah, he is 2020 World Superbike Champion. Thank you for stopping Jonathan Ray, all round nice guy, never brought it on the top. So yeah, any other champions? any Alex Lowe's fans out there? The BR8 lads did an interview with him. If you go on the BR8 like Spotify or whatever, if you look back, there's an interview with Alex Lowe's which was really good, and also Greg Haynes did a really good interview with him this week on the Eurosport podcast. So that if anyone's wanting to fill in a bit of time, they're good two podcasts to listen to.
Just a quick mention, obviously, on the social media this week, I seen the passing of Tony Rutter, Michael Rutter's father.
He was not a well man.
No,
he wasn't
and
well man.
I just want to say rest in peace, and obviously thoughts with Michael and the family, and just a difficult time, especially. I heard Boris say the other day, obviously no congregations, no weddings or anything, but he is allowing funerals to go ahead, so I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but I'm sure if it's going to be a public thing, Michael will be releasing the details.
Well, the Rutter family, and Tony Rutter, you've got to be living under a rock not to have heard of what he's done. He's an absolute legend. He really is, and as they say, legends never die. So, like you say, Chrissy, obviously, all the best to the Rutter family, and the sport's lost another name.
Absolutely, and on another sort of like sad topic, if you like, I put on the last podcast, we were talking about anyone that's made redundant or loses the job to message in.
Yeah.
And last week I needed a lift down to Middlesbrough for the hyperbaric chamber. And, and one of your good 130 members got in touch.
Really?
And very kindly offered us a lift down. A guy called Mark Reynolds. And
well, thank you very much, Mark, first of all, for being part of the club, and thank you for helping this knacker out. There you go. And
a really nice bloke, had a real good bit crack, and at the time everything was fine with his job and stuff, but he's actually just emailed us in just to say that his company are making him, is it Furloft, I think it's called, where Furloft, which is like basically not working for the time being, but it's looking like the company's going to go down as well, so he's thinking he won't have a job to go to after. He's a mechanical engineer by trade, and he's worked on loads of things. As we're driving down to Middlesbrough, there was
that's a good 40-minute drive for you.
The wind turbines, he was like, I think he designed them, or like where we were passing Stocksfield, he had like some part in putting them up or designing them or whatever.
All right.
And he's like worked for Porsche and all kinds. Like, he's really interesting guy. But in the meantime, I think he's planning on. I won't go into too much detail, so like people nick his idea, but he's looking at making his own basic like bike lock, but a bit different to the usual, so he's going to be focusing on that. And he sent us a message just to say,
if you can build wind turbines, this is going to be a hell of a product. They are. We should get the stolen lads onto this. Stolen recovery lot. Buy one of these and then we'll touch. There we are.
And he also said if anyone he's going to be free for the next few months or whatever, so if anyone like in the northeast area needs a hand with anything, he can drive his car and motorbike, and if anyone's got anything that they need doing, he's sort of volunteering himself for that. So if anyone does need anything, to get in touch with us and we'll pass it on. But all the best.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Have you got anything else to finish up on?
Nah, I'm actually quite nervous about the next show, because we're going to find out two different sides of comedy here. Without a doubt, aren't we? You know what I mean?
What's the following week got in store for you? Out and out.
I just think the whole country's in the same state. I think it's just very much take it as it comes, isn't it? And it's just let's just like keep everything crossed, because obviously the only thing that isn't cancelled at the moment, as far as motorcycle racing is concerned, is the only thing that is the Classic TT. That's the only thing that hasn't been scrubbed, or the Classic and the Manx. So I get shot for saying that. You've got to mention both. But that's the only thing that hasn't been scrubbed, and I think it's a very clever move that they haven't scrubbed it, because if they do, it'll be just like, that's the end of it. You know what I mean? That is totally the end of it. So let's hope, because that's at the back end of August.
Mm-hmm. The Isle of Man itself's actually just went from, I think they'd had one case a few days ago, then 2 cases, 5 cases. It's had 25 cases today.
On the Isle of Man?
On the Isle of Man. So the Isle of Man's went into total lockdown. As we record this, I think it went into total lockdown today. And on that subject, all of our merchandise is sorted in the Isle of Man.
Don't tell him that, man. No one will buy it. It's Dozy Pillock.
No, but yeah, that's why I'm saying it, because if anyone orders it online, it's on total lockdown, so they're having problems with the postage and stuff.
Of course.
So don't worry if you have placed an order, and
or you can buy a rowboat and get it yourself.
We have actually sold out of caps, the ones that we've got in stock, so we've got new stock coming within the week. Hopefully, if it's not total lockdown. And we've also got some mugs coming, but we haven't launched them yet, so we should be launching them next week, I think. But yeah, just to let everyone know, if they are having problems with postage, don't worry about it.
Mint. And we've got a couple of giveaways for next week. I'm not going to let that get away, but we've got a nice couple of giveaways for next week, so tune in on that side of things.
Excellent. And yeah, once again, massive thank you to our sponsors, obviously Burrows Motor Company. And if you're looking for a Toyota, Mazda or a Kia or any of the second-hand cars, check them out. And if you're in the area, pop in. And if you mention Chasing the Racing, obviously if you make a purchase, you'll get a nice little top up on top, a nice little extra.
That's it. And obviously keep your 2 meters, and more importantly, keep your knobs clean. Doorknobs, Chrissy. Jesus Christ, always wipe. No one likes a dirty knob, mate. No one likes a dirty knob. Just keep it clean, keep it wiped. You know how it is. And stay at home, stay safe, save lives.
Take care, and we'll be back next week. And I take care. See you soon.
See you in a bit, mate.